Right, now I need to show you something because if you've been just looking at the crypto charts this week, you're probably a bit confused. Bitcoin's doing its thing, alts are moving here and there, but nothing really explains why the market feels a bit off. And then you zoom out and you see this. The S&P 500 is hitting all-time highs. The Nasdaq is breaking records again. The Russell 2000 has started moving and trillions of dollars have been added back into the US stock market in just a few weeks. And all of this is happening while we're still dealing with geopolitical tension, Iran headlines, oil risk, inflation concerns, and uncertainty around interest rates. So naturally, you're thinking, how does that even make sense? Before we get into this properly, if you're new here, my name's Paula, and on this channel we break down what's really happening across crypto, macro, and global markets. Not just headlines, but how everything connects underneath. Because once you understand that bigger picture, you stop reacting emotionally and you start seeing opportunities most people completely miss. Now, what you're seeing right now is exactly what I've been talking about in my recent videos. And I know some of you might have been watching those thinking, yeah, okay, but what does that actually look like in real time? This, this is what it looks like. Because a transition phase doesn't feel clean, it doesn't feel obvious, and it definitely doesn't feel like a clear bull market or a clear bear market. It feels like this, where nothing quite lines up, but everything is moving anyway. And this is the key idea I want you to take away from this entire video, because everything connects back to this. The market right now is acting like the war is ending before it's actually ended. It's pricing in a future that hasn't fully happened yet. And once you see that, everything else starts to make a lot more sense. If we go back just a few weeks, sentiment looked completely different. Markets were nervous, there was real concern around escalation in the Middle East, oil prices were starting to react, and a lot of big money was positioned for downside. Hedge funds were short, funds were defensive, and cash levels were high. And I said at the time, when everyone starts leaning one way, the market tends to do the opposite. That's exactly what we've just seen. Because as soon as the narrative shifted slightly, even just talk of potential negotiations or de escalation, the market didn't wait for confirmation. It moved immediately. Shorts started getting squeezed, funds started chasing, institutions that were underexposed had to jump back in, and suddenly you get this massive move higher that doesn't feel like it makes sense. But it does when you realise this isn't just organic buy in, this is forced buy in. This is positioning being unwound in real time. And then you layer AI on top of that. Because while all of this uncertainty is happening, you've got one part of the market that's just powering through tech. Nvidia pushing new highs, semiconductor stocks on a strong run, Intel jumping on earnings. And this matters more than people realize because the S&P 500 is heavily influenced by a small number of companies. So when those companies move, they drag the entire index higher with them, which is why you can have record highs in the index even when the broader environment still has risk. At the same time, we're seeing money flows shift, billions moving back into US equities, funds rotating out of defensive positions and back into growth. And again, this all ties into the same idea. The market is repositioning ahead of confirmation. It's not waiting to see if things improve, it's acting like they already have. Now, this is where I want to bring it back to crypto because this is where I see a lot of people getting it wrong. If you're just looking at the crypto charts right now, you're missing all of this. You're trying to figure out what Bitcoin's doing in isolation without realizing Bitcoin is reacting to liquidity, sentiment, and global risk. That's why when stocks move like this, crypto doesn't ignore it, it follows. And that tells us something really important. We're not in a clean crypto led bull market yet. We're still in a macro driven environment, which is exactly why I've been saying we're in a transition phase. And this is where things start to connect on a bigger level because in a transition phase, the market is constantly adjusting expectations. One day it's pricing in risk, the next day it's pricing in optimism, and that creates this environment where you get strong moves but no clear direction yet. And that's exactly where we are right now. Not fully bearish, not fully bullish, but moving towards something. Now the question becomes, what happens next? Because right now the market has already priced in a better outcome. It's priced in de escalation, stability, controlled inflation, and continued growth. But none of these things are fully confirmed yet, and that creates risk. Because if the market is right, this move continues. But if the market is early or wrong, then everything we're seeing right now can unwind very quickly. Because the same forces pushing the market up, short covering, FOMO, positioning, can all work in reverse. And this is why I'm not looking at this and thinking this is a clean breakout into a full bull market. I'm looking at this and thinking this is the middle. This is the messy part where the market is trying to figure itself out. And this is where most people struggle because they try to trade this like it's a clear trend, when actually it's a shifting environment. But this is also where the opportunity is, because when the markets are in transition, that's when you start to see divergence. Some assets outperform, some lag, some fade, and over time that gap widens because the market starts becoming more selective. And this is something I've been talking about in recent videos as well. We're moving away from a phase where everything moves together into a phase where only certain things lead. So when you see headlines like biggest reversal ever or trillions added in weeks, don't just look at the surface. Look at what's actually driving it. Because this isn't just a bullish move, this is a repositioning phase. The market trying to price in a future that hasn't fully arrived yet. And until that future becomes clear, we stay right here in the transition. So instead of asking whether the market is going up or down, start asking what the market is preparing for, because that question will give you a completely different perspective. And it's what helps you stay ahead while everyone else is reacting. Before I wrap this up, I want to leave you with one really important thought, especially in a market like this. When everything feels uncertain, when narratives are shifting quickly, and when the market is moving ahead of reality, this is exactly when you need to be the most intentional with how you protect what you've already built. Because it's easy to focus on entries, exits, and opportunities, but long term success in this space isn't just about making money, it's about keeping it. And that brings me on to something I think is genuinely important right now. If you're holding crypto, especially through a phase like this, when we're dealing with macro uncertainty, geopolitical risk, and sudden market shifts, you need to be thinking about security as much as strategy. Because the reality is, exchanges can go down, platforms can freeze, and during volatile periods, access to your assets becomes just as important as the assets themselves. This is why I personally like using Tangent wallets. They're simple, they're secure, and they remove a lot of the friction that usually comes with cold storage. You don't have seed phrases written down in multiple places. You don't have complicated setups. It's just a clean way to actually take control of your crypto and keep it safe, especially during uncertain times like this. And if you are thinking about getting one, you can use my discount code Paula at checkout, which gives you an extra 10% off any of the other discounts already on the site. And I've left the link in the description below so you can check it out in your own time. Now, coming back to the bigger picture, because this is what I really want you to take away from today. We're not in a clear trend yet. We're in a transition. The market is trying to move ahead, it's trying to price in a better outcome, but that outcome hasn't fully played out yet. And that means we're likely going to continue seeing these moments where things don't quite make sense on the surface, but underneath, there's a much bigger shift happening. So instead of getting caught up in every move, every headline, every short term reaction, just take a step back and keep asking yourself what the market is actually preparing for. Because if you can stay focused on that question, you'll naturally avoid a lot of the noise that pulls most people in the wrong direction. And if you want to go deeper into this, if you want to understand how we're navigating this phase in real time, how we're managing risk, and how we're approaching both bullish and bearish scenarios, then don't forget we've put together a completely free trading course for you. It breaks down the exact strategies we use in the Crypto Wolf Pack to make money in both bull markets and bear markets. And the link for that is also in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Especially because everything we're talking about right now is evolving quickly. And I'll keep updating you as this transition phase develops. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the market is getting ahead of itself right now? Or do you think this is the start of something much bigger? Because either way, what happens next is going to matter more than most people realise. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.